I've done a lot of marketing around the world, and I was in San Francisco maybe 6 years ago, interviewing some of the world's top cardiologists, some of the people that have like introduced the sugar tax into Mexico and all this kind of stuff, and we started studying blue zones, so places in the world where people live past 100, the Whole Foods fasting community, all that sort of stuff, and at the end of this like amazing interview, I said to this guy, I said, okay, so we know where some of the best places in the world where you can live the longest. Out of interest, is there anywhere that's like the worst places? And he goes, well, Cam, there is this place called Guernsey, and it has the highest amount of alcoholics per capita.
Mhm.
I said, I have no idea where Guernsey is. And it amazed me because, as much as places like the Channel Islands are very lubricated, we also have an amazing community. And as many people know, community is one of the main indicators of a long and healthy life. If you can't die because you're too busy, well, that's actually a pretty good thing on a small island of 2,000 people. So, I mean, I've always found it funny because people criticize, the heavy drinking and the going to parties and stuff like that. But it really is like, it keeps you stuck to this kind of like socializing. Do you find that when you're over here?
I think socializing and friendship is the glue of society. It's what holds us together. And there's huge evidence that if you are lonely, not only does it affect your mental health, it affects your immune system and increases the risk of heart disease and cancer. And you will never be lonely in Alderney. And that's not to say people don't sometimes choose to have a quieter life, which is absolutely right and proper, but there's always something going on here. And the nice thing here is that nowhere is more than 5 minutes away. And one of the things that we have always loved, having lived in England where you've got to drive everywhere and traffic and hassle and parking, you get none of that here. And that is always a joy.
It's amazing. And, there's been a couple of times that I've had to drive your car home at the end of the night because, I stopped drinking, or at least around my parents. I didn't want to encourage them, but it is this island has that social culture. One thing I'm always amazed by whenever we're at a dinner party is your generation seems to be just full of jokes, like proper jokes. And I've never been to a dinner party with my own friends where we've started coming out with proper jokes. Is this a generational thing that like we've just like haven't learned about what jokes and storytelling is like, or like why is it that you all start doing it? Like, and it's mostly the men, but one guy will tell a joke and then someone else will tell their joke after, and then before you know it, everyone's absolutely pissing themselves laughing.
Well, I think you're onto something there because it's interesting. I've never really thought of it like that, but I think you've identified something. But there is people are very relaxed, and there's some very good joke tellers on the island. It does seem to be a generational thing.
But do you remember these jokes from when you were young, or from other dinner parties? Like, I don't know, I still hear jokes from my dad today that I'm like, I've never heard that before.
Well, but that's a minority because most of them, we all trot out the same joke, and Louise rolls her eyes and says, "Not again," sort of thing.
Do you know what? This podcast is completely uncensored, and so I wouldn't even ask you to tell my favorite joke of yours, because I've heard it, in a few different settings, and it always just gets people laughing. But I do think it's a lost art. I really do think that, and it's a bit of a shame because I mean, my generation is so glued to our devices and knowledge, and like as you were saying earlier, it's like this is bad for you, or don't do this, don't do that, and there does feel this kind of like over, stimulant of just kind of like just too much information. Like I've always thought that your generation just like got to discover it by making the mistakes, whereas our generation don't discover anything about mistakes because we're told what is good and bad. And so I don't know. I mean, a lot of my friends now don't drink, and if you are the drinker, you're now kind of the odd one out. And the nights always end at like 8 o'clock, and it's just a bit weird. Well, I mean, you've got some lovely kids. I mean, how do you think their view of socializing is compared to yours?
I think you're right. I think my kids' generation, 30, 32, are certainly a lot healthier than I was when I was 30 and 32. But there's much less alcohol, there's more exercise, very positive, healthy lifestyles, healthy eating. And I think that's fantastic. Some of that has come from obviously increased knowledge about how nutrition and lifestyle can affect it. And certainly when I was 30 and things, people didn't know so much about that. But there has been a sea change as well. And at the end of the day, I believe moderation in everything, and choice.